So let's discussing what S3 is, and we will go ahead and talk more in terms of how to use this. So I'll be a little practical here, and I'll show you demos on the console. So we'll see what S3 is. S3 is a place where I store data. That data could be a file, could be a video, could be anything. I don't care. S3 doesn't look into your data. Whatever you want to dump into S3, you can. Some limitation are in file size. Maximum file size for object is called 5 terabyte. Now, the concept in S3 is first thing you create is called a bucket. So if you see this green box here, like a bucket of a water bucket, that is a bucket. Bucket is a placeholder where I would be keeping my data, and data is stored in S3 bucket in form of objects. So this triangle and the circle and the square you see, these are my objects which I'm going to store inside my S3 bucket. So bucket is what is the outer boundary, and within that you would be creating your object. So let me quickly go to console, and we would start creating a bucket, and we will then see how this bucket actually looks like. Now, one thing you have to be aware that bucket name when you are taking, they should be unique. They should be globally unique. So currently I am into Ireland as a region. As you can see from the console, I would look here and search for S3. This is the AWS management console. Another good part about this console is if you are not sure like which service name is, just type what it is, storage. So if I talk storage, it would bring up all the services which has related to something with storage. Like I have S3 here, storage gateway, FSX. So I'm going ahead and talking about S3, which is scalable storage into cloud. Let me get started with S3. So first thing to get started is to create a bucket, and in that bucket then I can add my object, which is up to me how I want to keep it. Do I want a folder structure, or do I just want to dump everything on the root? It is purely up to me, but to get started you have to create something called a bucket. Let's get started by creating a bucket. So I'm in Amazon S3. Now people get confused here because as soon as you come to S3, this shows global. So does it mean S3 is a global service? I would say S3 namespace is global, but the bucket you create is contained within a region. And if you see, I have few buckets in my account. Like this is a bucket which is in US East North Virginia, another one in Frankfurt, another one into US West. These are all the buckets I have. So let's go ahead and create a bucket. I would try to create a bucket with the name test, and probably it would fail because somebody would have already created a bucket called test into EU West 1. So I have given it a name called test, and I try to create a bucket. Let's see what we get. Bucket with the same name already exists, so the name should be globally unique. So let's go ahead and do this like BeSA, and what is today, 14th May 2022. Probably nobody would have created a bucket like this. And let me make another one here like Ireland, so I can know that this bucket is created into Ireland. So I am selecting a region in Ireland. I want to create a bucket. There are other settings also. We'll talk about them. There is a setting called block all public access. I would keep it. I will talk about it. But idea is then I would create a bucket. Once a bucket is ready, it is a placeholder. In that bucket, I would then start looking for or updating my object or keeping my object. So let me search for that bucket because you may have a lot of, and here is my bucket. A bucket and objects are not public, creation date. And in this, now I have a way to upload my object. So I can go here and say, okay, I want to do what? I want to upload my object. So I would go ahead and say upload. Now I'm doing it just to show you manually by clicking and uploading one object. But in real life, probably what you would be looking for adding objects from command line or some other ways. So it would be faster. But if you want, you can first create a folder and add folders or add file. It is purely up to you what you want to keep inside. Select a local file which you are looking for to update. And from that, you should be able to pick up your data. So let's say I select something from desktop. Probably there is something like invite.ics file. This file is of 816 byte. I have a destination. This is my bucket naming format, S3 colon bucket name. More details on destination, I'll talk about them. And I say upload, and now my object has been stored into S3. See, this one file has been uploaded. What I did here, I have used my bucket to hold one file, but if I'm looking to create folder structure, that is also possible. Within this bucket, I can create a folder called images, another folder called PDF. It is purely up to you how you want to use it. So this is my bucket, and I have an object inside, as we can see. If you are looking to create a folder, and I want to create a folder and say my object will be stored inside a folder called data, so we can, or data123, I can go ahead and create a folder. Now this folder is just for bifurcation. Actually, S3 doesn't have a folder structure. S3 keeps everything into a flat file and or in a flat structure. What is going to happen if I upload something into this data folder now? Let's say I go to this data folder and I say I am going to upload something here. Let's add another file and see how the naming convention would be changing. So I select again, and probably let's select, like say eBay return, not the good one, CSV to Parquet. This is the file, CSV to Parquet, 3.3 KB. I am putting it where? Into data folder, and I say upload. Every object you upload is having a name associated with it. As we see, this is all having a name associated, CSV to Parquet. Now, in technical term, this name is called key, K-E-Y. The name is called a key. Now, key is a representation of that object which we have stored on that. So one object, if you have, that object's name was what? Let me write down on a notepad so you can relate to it. So first object I stored was invite.ics. So in that case, the name of that object, what we call key, was just invite.ics. Just give an example. Right. Second object I uploaded, it is stored into a data123 folder. So its name is slash data123 slash csv to parquet dot csv file, whatever it is. So for me, it looks like it's a folder structure, but for S3, it is a flat structure. If in that folder I again add another file, that would look to me like a file, but that would be again an object in S3, which is with this particular name. So this is how my S3 stores object. For you and me, it would look like a flat structure, but it is, sorry, a folder structure, but it is a flat structure. And this whole thing is called the object name. As we can see here, this is what my object name is. And every object gets a unique URL associated with it. See this. So the object which I uploaded, which is object URL CSV to Parquet and into this got a unique URL associated. If I'm trying to copy this object URL, trying to open it, obviously I would get access denied, because by default no object is made public. More, if you don't want that to public, it is by default private. You would make attempt to make it public, otherwise it is all private. And as you can see, I am getting access denied here. So every object would have a unique URL associated with it. Whatever I have uploaded, everything has a unique URL associated with, whether it was a folder, whether it was an object, everything is here. See this invite.ics. If I go inside this, I would find that this one also got a unique URL like this, right? All right, now what I can do here, I can go ahead and use some command line to upload more objects instead of manually doing things one by one. If I'm looking to put a lot of data, in that kind of cases, I would go to S3 command, or means my AWS command line, and from there I can perform some operations. So I'm here. Let's clear this out. I go to maybe temp directory, I guess so. Not the one. Temp test. Let me check. CD, what is the directory name? Temp. So I go to temp directory, and there I have some directories, and I have a directory called static website. Let me go there. So I say cd static website, and I can see there is a folder structure. There are dir, which is css file, font file, images, index.html. What I'm looking for, I'm looking to copy all of this into my S3 bucket, which I created. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So what I will be doing here, I would be saying AWS, this is invoking AWS command, which namespace S3. What you want to do? I want to copy CP. You don't have to remember these all helps are available into command line. You can put help and you would get that page. So I want to copy what? Dot everything. Where? Source is dot means everything within this folder structure called static website. Where I want to copy it, I want to copy it to S3 colon the website we created, sorry, folder we created, bucket we created called BeSA 14th May 2022 and Ireland. Let me quickly check the name that I am putting the right name and we will then copy it. So BeSA 14th May 2022 Ireland is my bucket name and I want to copy all my object from this location to it and into recursive format. What this will do, it would maintain and create the whole folder structure into S3. I initiated the command. It would copy everything from my local machine in this directory to that particular S3 bucket, which we are seeing into the folder structure. So let it give it some time. And as you can see, the files are being copied to me. I could manually upload them one by one, or better to use command line because it's a huge amount of files I am transferring. Manually doing it will create a lot of problem. I'm done. My work is finished. As you can see, my files have been uploaded here. These are all HTML files, CSS file, and other stuff around it. Let me make it a little smaller so you can see. This is my bucket, and in this bucket now I have about.html, cart, invite, lots and lots of stuff here. But are these bucket content right now public? Answer is no. By default, bucket is private. I can't access any of the content right now. Nobody can access it. What I need to do if I want, and I'm saying it is just I am doing it for demo purpose. In real life, people or customer would not be making a bucket public. I'm just trying to show you a demo around it. Right. If you want, you can make one single object public. Or if you want, you can make the whole bucket public, and for that you need to configure its a permission. So we'll see that association. We have option for permissions here. I am selecting the bucket, and in that I am going to personalize. Now here it says access bucket and objects are not public. That's expected. Let me go ahead and change this setting first. So this is my permission. I say by default it says block public access. I am going to override it. I would say I want to add it and I want to remove this setting. Now removing this setting doesn't make it public. Removing this setting already just says that we are having a potential to make these objects public, but they are not by default public. I will maybe in future I would be allowing them to be publicly accessed. I want to make them ready to be available, but right now still they are not available. I unchecked it. It says I am having a potential to make them public, but still I haven't made them public. I say confirm, and now my object have a potential to be public, but still not public. So how to make objects public after this setting? You can make that individual object public, or you can configure here something called a bucket policy. And this bucket policy would apply to the component within the bucket by which you can control either all the object or a portion of the object. It is purely up to you. So we can use here something called a bucket policy. Let me get started with the bucket policy. I will add it and we'll get started. Right. Now, what is written here is a language called JSON, right? JSON is a very common way of representing things in AWS. This is having a structure. It is basically a key value pair. This is what I am seeing here. So this is my JSON file. I can use this for policy, or if I'm looking to create my policy automatically, I have an option here for policy generator, and I'll show you some resource link today where you can find more different policies available.